move fast and break things. And I think some of you have heard this quote many times. Unless you are breaking stuff, you're not moving fast enough. But what struck a chord with me about that quote was that I feel like healthcare is moving a little bit slower than everything else. And so this whole concept of moving fast and breaking things is paramount and fundamental to startups. But it doesn't seem to fly in healthcare because we're talking about people's lives being at stake. And it started to make some sense. So then I looked for some industry trends and facts that I thought would be helpful in these examples of innovation. And I felt like I was reading from 2 years ago. I had to check the dates on some of the articles. Price transparency becomes the norm. Healthcare information involves everyone. Tech goes clinical, and passive data collection takes off. Nothing really was very interesting to me that I hadn't read before. Then I got excited because I found an article that said, 4 startups changing healthcare as you know it. And I thought, this is it. This is going to be the epiphany, right? And then I read the article. And it was what I'd call at best a mixed bag. Talked about wearable airbags. And that was interesting, right? For fall people, right? That I got. A medical treatment solution that, and because I'm being recorded, I will make the joke, but it was very innovative. However, it did involve poop. It was stool samples. Again, a morning joke for you. A pain-relieving device to reduce the fear of needles, which really didn't feel very innovative. And then finally, drum roll, an innovative electronic medical records system. So after speaking on a panel Monday about innovation in Medicaid and Medicare, and spending the last couple of days, because I was on a panel Monday and then moderated Wednesday, I listened to a lot of different panelists, and it became clear that we continue to focus on the 5% of the population that represents 50% of the healthcare spend. And not that that's not important. Our enterprise, that's what we do. But it struck me, what are we doing about the 83 million millennials who are expecting a very different experience with healthcare? I really didn't do much about that this week, and I'm guessing most of you didn't either. And what's even more important is that these folks are now the largest generation in the workforce. That happened last year, if you didn't get that news flash. And their parents, who they're soon going to be influencing and making the healthcare decisions for, that would be the baby boomers. So we have a force coming, and I'm not seeing a lot of change to do that. So then it dawned on me, innovation isn't black and white. It's more of a continuum. And the continuum can be described as starting with what you would say would be improvement, then moving to evolution, then moving to innovation, and finally sort of culminating with transformation. And I would call the icing on the cake disruptive innovation. And I'm hoping that in today's panel we hit on these 2 different sort of continuum concepts. And what I found was interesting was many predict that disruptive transformation and innovation will be our only solution because our current business models aren't working. My enterprise, and I only am going to quickly do this, I wanted to share that information first, but my enterprise, Glenridge Healthcare Solutions and White Glove Health, plays a role in innovation by redesigning and personalizing care delivery beyond a traditional provider network. We're looking at the actual ecosystem of care delivery, and we're not just looking at acute and physical care, but we're also taking into account behavioral, social, and finally, community-based providers. We're helping ACOs and health systems and payers align with value-based reimbursement. And finally, through clinical delivery, we're bringing care to the person where they are, whether it's in the home, the LTAC, or the SNF. And we're ultimately creating integrated care delivery teams that include their families, instead of just requiring them to go to the office. And so now, I'm going to walk across, and hopefully my lavalier mic will come on magically. And I'm going to introduce our very diverse panel that luckily will give us a perspective from payer, provider, and ultimately patient and consumer. So first, we have Vivek Garipalli, who is the CEO of Clover Health, which my hope is that we will be able to hear a payer and, consumer perspective today. And then next I have Tom Jakovich, who is the Senior Vice President and actually CEO of Keck Medicine of University of Southern California. And finally, I have Dr. Nick Marco, who is the Chief Data Officer of a very well-known health system, Geisinger Health System. And so with that, let's start the conversation by briefly sharing how each of your organizations are bringing innovation to your segment of the industry. So, Tom, let's start with you.
Yes, Keck Medicine of USC is actually a young academic medical center. The University of Southern California bought it, the house was back from Tenet in 2009. And there was a challenge in the sense that when Tenet left, they pulled out all their systems. And when I came in 2011, I realized I had an academic startup. Because we didn't have a lot of infrastructure, we were young and we were small in a very competitive market. Revenue-wise, about $500 million. 4.5 years later, we've gone ahead and put in CERN, so we have electronic medical record across our 3 hospitals plus our ambulatory sites. We've grown to 1.3 billion, but our infrastructure is still weak. And one of the things that I realized, we didn't have a lot to tear down. So that's a good side of this, right? We don't take a lot out of it. But the other thing is we had a chance to really build it for what we thought healthcare was going to be in the future. At the same time, leveraging our physician expertise, leveraging this mountain of clinical data, but also leveraging things that the university had that are unique, a film school, school of communications, engineering, health policy. How can we leverage all that to develop innovation, both about how to use our data to improve patient safety, but also rethink how we're going to deliver healthcare and what platforms we can create in the future. The other thing I thought was a tremendous opportunity, especially to tap into the IT talent, was LA was beginning to have real sort of its own mini Silicon Valley, Silicon Beach, and a way to leverage some of the talent there that we could sort of bring them in, work with our schools, work with our faculty members in the School of Medicine, and really create some innovation. Since we have a lot to catch up against our competition. So I thought as CEO in this role, that was sort of my job, is sort of bring the players together and see if we could create something different and special.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. So let me start by giving you just a little bit of context about where I sit in our organization. So I'm the organization's chief data officer. I'm also a clinical neurosurgeon, so I practice, I see patients, and my focus is brain and spine tumors. So I get to see things from both sides, from the clinician and patient side, and also from the side of data and infrastructure and data strategy. So in the chief data officer role, I basically do 4 things: enterprise data strategy, data governance, data management, which is our enterprise data warehouse and big data systems,